Okay, now we're gonna have a really quick overview of charts in general, just to run through the basics of what you're looking at. Because admittedly, if you come to somewhere around here, when somebody first looks at a chart, they're gonna be overwhelmed just by the absolute mess of lines. Before we even begin though, I think it'd be important to note that this is a training chart, one of the big three that STCW uses, Block Island, Long Island, and Chesapeake Bay. And what that really means, for one thing, is that this chart, you can see its most recent update was in 1991. So you aren't supposed to use this for navigation purposes, like it says down here. The nav aids aren't necessarily up to date. And it also, most importantly, means that you've got Loran lines all across the chart, this series of grids here. This was for when Loran C was operable to provide like radio navigation purposes. That doesn't exist anymore, so you can disregard it. And that really does contribute a lot to the clutter of the chart, makes it harder to read than it really needs to be. Any actual charts that you would use for navigation nowadays aren't going to have these, and it's going to make it a lot simpler. So don't feel overwhelmed. Now, to very much glaze over in broad strokes what you're going to find in a chart, it really does come down to latitude and longitude scales, the shoreline, obviously, depth curves, nav aids, and notes. Don't forget the notes. These are valuable. So if we move over to the top of the chart, don't worry about the actual projection yet. You can see up at the top, you'll get the basic information of the chart, its name. This one is Block Island Sound. The publishing agency, which is NOAA in this case. You might see Admiralty charts out at sea as well. You'll see information such as what the measurements are in, what units they use for soundings. The datum, the datum is around here somewhere. I'm just missing it. But the datum is the actual like geodetic survey that was used to determine the information on this chart and the exact locations. I swear it's somewhere. I'm just missing it. It should be WGS 84 for this one as well. Then here you'll see all of these various notes. And you've got other notes that are actually printed on the chart itself. You do not want to ignore these. These are really valuable information for like speed restrictions, certain areas of note, maybe certain danger areas, things that will be relevant that don't necessarily apply to just one location. They're in a broader zone, so it's not practical to like mark them each time. All right, next you'll see, of course, the latitude scale along the long edge, and then the longitude scale, both at the bottom and the top. This will be used to determine the coordinates for any given position you might be looking at, whether it be a light or a feature on the shoreline or the actual fix of your ship. And it's projected up through this grid pattern all across the chart. Then you'll get compass roses thrown down occasionally all across the chart, just to give you a visual representation of both true north and magnetic north, something we'll go into more detail later, and to show you the variation between the two. And you can see visually how variation will change even based on this small difference in distance here. Next, you'll see on these curves, these are depth curves to show you a general idea of the shape of the seabed. Before you come up to the actual shoreline, and there things will get more complicated. You'll get lines of demarcation like you have right here, line of demarcation, and then territorial markers for when you transition into a country's territorial waters, which is technically out here, but then we get into more inland stuff here. Every nav aid, if we zoom in on Block Island here, will be marked either as a buoy or as a light or a beacon on land. All of the ones that you can see here are lighted. I don't think the camera would be able to show an unlighted one, but it would just be a dot or the buoy shape, which is always a little diamond. Other than that, I'll get more into actually how you use this in the next few videos. I just wanted you to have a basic overview for how to even understand what you're looking at. And I still can't find the datum.